Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my January wrap up. So this month of January I actually read 5 books, which I'm super excited about. I haven't read that much in 1 month in a long time, so I'm pumped with how this year is starting off. Yeah, let's just get right into it. I read 3 physical books and 2 audiobooks this month, which was very exciting. And yeah, there's quite an eclectic mix here, so let's just get into it. So the first book that I read this month of January was Snot Girl Volume 1 by Brian Lee O'Malley and Leslie Hung. This I got off of recommendation from Myth over at Mythical Rose. I will leave their channel down below. Snot Girl tells the story of Lolly, who is a social media influencer. That is her entire job, that's her entire life, and this is a very over-the-top and dramatized version of influencer life. Obviously, it's definitely taking the piss out of being an influencer, but I thought it was really funny and really interesting. She's over-obsessed with everybody, she's super critical and super judgmental and a really flawed character, but I really enjoyed following her story. And like, it's got beautiful artwork, first of all, like, just absolutely stunning. Let me find a really good page for you. Like, this is just stunning. I'm absolutely obsessed with this. It starts off following Lottie on her own journey, and then it ends up in like becoming like a murder mystery. It's weird as all hell, but I really enjoyed it. It is a really interesting take, and I'm really interested in continuing it. It was weird as hell, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Next up is the first audiobook that I listened to this month, and that was Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. I borrowed it from my library through Libby. And this audiobook was fantastic. I listened to it in 2 sittings and I really enjoyed it. It's a really great take on talking about intersectional feminist theory rather than just the very white-centered, white female-centered feminist history that we have. It's basically talking about those that were left out of the original feminist movement, namely women of color. And it talks about the intersectionality of feminism with different ideas such as class, race, gender identity, classism, fat phobia, etc. It's a really great take and a really great introduction to the idea of intersectional feminism, and I think anybody who identifies as a feminist should give this book a try. I really enjoyed it. I don't really tend to rate nonfiction, so I don't really have a rating, but I highly recommend it. Next up was definitely my favorite read of this month and one that was very overdue, and that was Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. This is the first book in a new adult series written by Sarah J. Maas. This one is much more like urban fantasy leaning. It's still definitely high fantasy, but it focuses much more on, like, I don't even know, it's almost like it's very different from what she has normally written. It is following 2 main characters, Bryce and Hunt. Bryce is a half-fae girl, Hunt is a fallen angel, and after Bryce's entire friend group gets brutally murdered, 2 years later she gets brought back into the fray and forced to work with Hunt, a fallen angel and a member of the auxiliary, which is like the law enforcement in Crescent City, who are forced to work together to solve the murder. This book was fantastic. It took me a little while to get into it because there was a little info dumpy at the beginning, but once I did, oh my god, I was hooked. I was obsessed. I love Bryce so much. I love Hunt so much. I love all of the characters so much. I just loved the difference in like tone that this book had compared to the rest of them. Like, this one was dark, this one was gritty, this one had like really interesting character dynamics, and the characters weren't perfect, but I don't know, I love them. I love Bryce so much. She's definitely different. She's just so fun and energetic and gives 0 fucks about what people think about her. She's super sex positive and just a really great like role model, I think, in terms of like her femininity. She enjoys her femininity, she embraces her femininity, but it doesn't make her like a bad character. There are people who judge her because of her femininity and she just doesn't care, and I just really love that example, and I'm just obsessed with this entire story. I need more desperately. I think it's safe to say I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Next up, I listened to another audiobook, and this one I was planning on listening to for a while now, so I'm really happy that I got into it, and that is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. You guys know I don't listen to or read a lot of contemporary YA, but I've fallen in love with Elizabeth Acevedo's writing. I listened to both The Poet X and With the Fire on High last year. Well, actually, no, I listened to The Poet X and I read The Fire on High. With the Fire on High. Both of those were 5 stars, and this was no exception. This book was fantastic. This book follows 2 sisters who, one is living in New York City, one is living in the Dominican Republic, and they come to know about each other after learning that their father has died in a plane crash based on an actual plane crash from 2002, going from New York to the Dominican Republic. This crash was devastating to the Dominican population and their community, but it didn't get nearly as much media attention since it was in the wake of 9/11 and had nothing to do with terrorism. It kind of got brushed under the rug, which was really unfortunate and really, really sad. And this kind of follows a story very similar to that. This tells the story of these 2 sisters as they learn about each other's existence, not knowing that the other one existed, and coming together and learning what it means to deal with trauma, sisterhood, family, secrets, identity, all kinds of different things. This story was gorgeous and I absolutely adored it. I listened to it in one go because it's narrated again by Elizabeth Acevedo. I love it when books are narrated by their author, and Elizabeth Acevedo is a slam poet, so her delivery of these books are just incredible. This one's also written in verse, so it was written kind of like a piece of poetry, and it just was an absolute pleasure to listen to. If you get a chance to listen to it, I highly recommend you go for it. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars as well. And finally, the last book that I read in January was We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal. This is the sequel to We Hunt the Flame, which came out in 2019. This tells the story of Zafira and Nasir. Zafira is the anonymous hunter of her community. She disguises herself as a man and goes into this infamous, magical, dangerous forest called the Ars in order to feed her community. And one day she is tasked by the Sultan to journey to this infamous isle in the middle of their world where the Ars is from in order to retrieve a very valuable magical relic that should bring magic back to the world of Aruwaya. Nasir is the crown prince, also known as the Prince of Death. He is an assassin who has been raised his entire life in order to be an assassin. And he is tasked with following this Zafira into the Ars, into the onto the Isle of Shar in order to kill her and then steal the relic once she has found it. This story is fantastic. It is great slow burn enemies to lovers romance. I absolutely adore it so much. And this conclusion was no different. I flew through We Hunt the Flame and I read We Free the Stars in one night, basically. I read about 50 pages earlier on in the month, and then on the last night of January, I decided to get into the bath at about 10:30 p.m. and I didn't get out of the bath until 6 a.m. I had to refill it twice because I got so cold, but I couldn't move. I had to keep reading. I finished this so quickly in one go. I wasn't even like upset that I was uncomfortable. Like, it was so good. I cried quite a bit, and just the action, the plot twists, the characters. The characters in this series are incredible. Not just Zafira and Nasir, they're both incredible, but Altair is one of my absolute favorite literary characters of all time. And it's just incredible. The villain, the Lion of the Night, is just so eerie and so creepy, but also really, really like compelling, which is even adds to its creepiness. But anyway, if you guys get a chance to read this duology, please go for it. This was the finale. There's only 2 books in the series, which is depressing, but if you guys get a chance to read it, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. This was also 5 stars. In case you couldn't tell, I had a really good reading month. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you're new here, please subscribe. I put out new bookish videos every week. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below letting me know what books you read in January, or if you've read any of the books that are on this list. I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.